All right. Thank you again for joining me on another episode here of Phoenix Rising Live. And I will be discussing the signs and symbols of synchronicity. And what does that mean? How do we utilize it? And it's an important aspect to understand everything in the external world is coming from your consciousness. So everything is equal. Everything has equal value. Everything can be utilized as a neutral prop. And it's up to you to decide what purpose it will serve. And of course, that fundamentally boils down to either using it for a negative purpose, which separates you from yourself, or a positive purpose, which allows the process of integration to take place in a deeper way. So if you take the stance in life and the viewpoint and the perspective that everything is here to serve you, everything is your friend, everything is your support system, and you're creating it for that purpose, and it's here to serve you as a lesson for you to grow into the next grade level of your life. And let's start off with the grade school system as a symbol, something that's symbolic. And this isn't exactly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about signs and symbols, but it's relevant because it's coming up in conversation. I'm bringing it up, but it's naturally coming up in the conversation. So if you look at how the grading system works, and I'm simply just talking about how we go from grade 1 to grade 2, etc., that is essentially what life is. And everything that we experience in this physical world is a reflection of how consciousness works, how consciousness is constructed. Now, it's not necessarily a pure form of consciousness. In fact, we'll never really find that in the physical world because it's all a reflective mirror, a representation of something non-physical. And of course, as we ascend on the ladder of consciousness, we gain glimpses into that, and that becomes more and more our reality, where physical reality is actually malleable, flexible, transformational in every moment. And I'll get to that in a second, but the idea of our graduation system, of how we graduate into higher levels of consciousness, is akin to our grading school system. Once you've completed a grade, you move on. Now, of course, there aren't the same human limitations based in our consciousness graduation. So you don't want to confuse the two, and you don't want to get too technical about this. But as a basic symbol of how we evolve, that's essentially how it works. And when you learn your lessons at your current state of consciousness, you move on and you're given the lessons. And they may not come in the way you expect, or the way that you would insist upon them happening, or in the way that you would assume that they are appearing. They may be dramatically different. And that's why having that open-mindedness is so essential, because your conscious mind isn't aware of constructing reality. Clearly, everything that we have in this world that's positive and progressive came from a form of inspiration, whether it was someone in their imagination had an idea of creativity and expressed it, or literally how higher intelligence has supported us quite literally, physically, over thousands of years with technology and things of that nature. It's all coming from some higher source of power, and it's our mind that receives it. It's our brain actually that receives it, and then it's our mind that perceives it and projects it. And the challenge for most people is their perception, their perceiver, their mind has negative filters. And so they may be receiving a clear signal, but they're not perceiving with a clear signal. And there's also blocks in terms of how the brain may not be receiving a clear signal as well. So there's multiple conduits that higher mind is passing through. And our real job is to keep our vessel clear to receive that in the best and easiest way for us, that's most natural to us. And how do we do that? By just identifying what's most exciting to us in this moment. And one of the signs and symbols that we get along the way are this idea of synchronicity, where numbers line up, where people have similarities, where there's a similar energy, where things are happening simultaneously. The idea of a coincidence means two incidents coinciding, happening simultaneously. So it's not that there's no such thing as a coincidence. Of course there is. It's just two incidents paralleling one another or being perpendicular to one another, mirroring one another. And that intense mirror reflection becomes more pronounced in these situations. As your consciousness increases, you see how everything is a reflection of itself. But remember, always remember that it is the mere reflection of your consciousness. So as much as physical reality is real, it's also a projection of consciousness. It's both. You can't dismiss it as a dream and ignore it and not validate it and not give it significance. But at the same time, you don't need to worship it. It's here for you. It's here created by you. Same as your body. Your body is here to support you as a servant, as a humble servant. And you can be a humble master. And when you have that relationship with yourself, with your body, with your environment, with your mind, then it's all working together harmoniously from one integrated point of view. And it's simplicity. One point of consciousness is really all you require in order to move your life forward. So if you allow yourself to tap into that power, allow your passion to be ignited, allow the symbols around you, the people, what they say. Are you noticing that people are saying something consistently that has a similar theme? Well, maybe that's something to explore. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to lead to a particular outcome either, because sometimes you follow these signs of synchronicity assuming that it's going to lead to some treasure chest, and it always does, but that treasure chest may be dramatically different than what you had in mind. So just consider that. Simultaneously, just like everything in life, numbers, symbols, meanings, angel card readings, various permission slips that come up for people to seek guidance from, there is also a point in time where it may no longer be the permission slip that you need as your form of synchronicity or guidance. So know that it can be overused, it can be abused, it can become codependent in a relationship with you. Rather, you're allowing it to become codependent. And so when you start noticing that, that's when it's time to step back and start looking at your belief systems. Because you don't want to depend on anything in the world because it changes all the time. So know that the outer world is simply reflecting your inner world, and it can validate where you are. It can give you acknowledgement to show you're on the right track, but to look for the signs, to consciously seek them out rather than just allowing them to reveal themselves to you. That would be a misplacement of your power. So just allow things to manifest rather than trying to consciously create things, because it doesn't work that way anyway. And when it does line up that way, it's simply because your conscious mind was in alignment with your higher mind. So don't be fooled, and don't beat yourself up for not manifesting things in the way that you want or following the symbols and it doesn't lead to where you thought it would lead. Well, it wasn't supposed to. It always leads where you need it to lead for your growth, not necessarily where you want it to lead you. And all it's indicating is that you're on the right track. You're in vibrational alignment. So you don't have to look for those signs. They'll reveal themselves to you. And you don't have to ask yourself if you're on the right track, because you're seeing that you are. And how do you know if you're on the right track? Because you feel good. You feel aligned. You feel happy. You feel present. You feel like you're living with a sense of purpose, whatever that is. It can be serving a client, helping a friend or family member, or just cooking good food for yourself. But the point is, no matter what you're doing, you're involved in it. You're immersed in it. It's fulfilling you. You're enthusiastic about engaging in it. If you're having those experiences, then you know you're doing the right thing. And if the external environment reflects that to you through numbers or other signs or other symbols, fantastic. And if it doesn't, maybe you don't need that. In fact, it's guaranteed you don't need it because you're not seeing it. And you're only seeing what you need to see. And you only have in your life what you need to have. And I'm not suggesting to hold on to what you have. I'm suggesting to appreciate what you have and allow it to flourish into even more. Because if you focus on what you have rather than what you don't have, now you're truly appreciating it. And now you can allow it to appreciate, which, what does that mean? Expansion. You can allow it to grow. and benefit you in greater and greater ways. So if you know that in every moment you have everything you need in this moment to be fully appreciative of existence, of yourself, self-loving, self-caring, everything you need is here and now. And whatever needs to happen will happen. You'll be given what you need to know when you need to know it. But you must calm down. You must let go of resisting. You must get quiet and get those little sparks, those little signs. Pay attention. If you're curious about what you should be doing, just get quiet and meditate, and you'll get an impulse. It doesn't have to be immediate. Sometimes an idea enters my mind, and I may not have total clarity on it, so I allow it to be there for a day or two or three or longer. And if it reaches the point where it becomes so strong that I know I must take action, the energy's there. It's not even an effort. And if it goes away, then I know it wasn't relevant for me to actually take action upon. So utilize the systems that already exist inherently in your nature for you to move forward in your life. There's no reason to fight yourself. There's no reason to be in conflict. There's no reason to fear the future, because there's nothing you can do to change it anyway. It's going to change on its own. And if you just get quiet, you'll be in harmony and flow with what needs to happen anyway. So there's two options. You could resist, and that's choosing to see things from a negative perspective, or you can surrender and allow yourself to see things from a positive perspective. You're surrendering to yourself. You're surrendering to your higher self. You're surrendering to the natural flow of life, the life current that's here. You don't need to stop it. Just embrace it. And as you embrace it, your life moves forward. You feel more and more fulfilled, happier. Things become easier. You understand and accept and see and experience how you are actually creating your reality. You know it. Everything in my life now, I can see how I brought it upon myself in a positive way for a positive purpose. It's my creation. And you're doing the same. And there's always a next level of understanding this. And the more conscious you become, the bigger your life grows. And it might seem like you're having bigger problems, but that's just because your consciousness is expanding. And it might seem like you're becoming more aware of negativity, but that's because your light is becoming brighter and those dark corners of your mind are being illuminated to a greater extent, more obvious. Now you're paying attention to them more. Just like the example I gave, when things remain in my mind for a period of days, and then it gets to the point of intensity and magnetism where it's time to take action. It's the same with those negative beliefs. They may have been deeply subconscious in the past, and now they come to the forefront for you to look at them, not to be scared of them, not to sweep them away, not to wish they weren't there. If you had a child that was special needs and needed acknowledgement and appreciation, but you wish that you didn't have that child, you'd accept, this is my child. That's what your negative beliefs essentially are. Not to use that as a direct correlation, because no matter how people come into the world, born, that's absolutely perfect, and we love them. But it's the same with our negative beliefs. They can be used for a positive purpose. So the idea of insisting upon something, insisting that it be different, insisting that your child walks before it's ready to walk, or that your child be different than the way that it is, it doesn't do any good. And just allow it to be what it is. And as you allow it to be what it is, it will continue to transform and evolve exactly how it needs to. And same with the negative beliefs. As you look at them, as you look at the reasons why they were created, as you accept them and love them and appreciate them, rather than resisting them and fighting with them, they naturally transform. And they begin to serve a more and more positive purpose for you. And eventually, the chains that held you back disassemble entirely. And you move forward in your life. And if you remember that everything that you're experiencing is a reflection of your own consciousness here to provide a lesson for you, that includes your children, that includes your family, that includes your life circumstances, that includes your financial circumstances, that includes your health. None of it's random. You're not a victim of any of it. It's all meant to serve you. And if you embrace it that way, rather than rejecting it, rather than trying to lock it away in a closet like Harry Potter, and that's a great analogy because Harry was so powerful, yet the people, the family that didn't understand him locked him away. And that's essentially what we're doing with our negativity. And the signs and symbols of synchronicity guide us to look at these negative beliefs. There are markers. It's like when you're driving on the road and there's literally signs telling you you're on the right track or showing you when to stop, when to go, when to turn right or left. It's literally the exact same. It's obviously being experienced differently because you're not in a car, but the signs are quite identical to that. And they bring you to your negative beliefs to be addressed. That's part of your journey. So hallelujah. You can embrace it. I think you all get the point. Thank you for tuning in once again. I appreciate you. Join me tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Time for another amazing masterclass, Phoenix Rising Masterclass, igniting your passion, unlocking your creativity, allowing yourself to rise above the ashes, born anew, and becoming and being and expressing the best version of yourself. I look forward to seeing you there, and thank you, and much love.